Hello, my name's Ronnie. I'm an owner of a 2015 Hyundai Sonata. I've had issues over the last couple of years with the steering uh, going out in it. And, you go get in the car, crank it up, and let's see if I can get you a picture. It'll show this on the dash. Okay, so like I say, I'm one of them kind of guys. I'm a do-it-yourselfer, and I'll pull a YouTube video up or stroll around and Google. Try to see if I can fix it. All of us don't have $1,500 or to have them to fix it or to be able to order a new steering column, which is what they tell you that they have to do to if you take it to them for them to fix it, which you're looking at over 500 to over probably 18, maybe 18, $1,900 for them to put a complete steering column in. Now they'll tell you that your motor's bad in it, and which it's not. The problem that I found that I've had with it so far, there is this car is equipped with electronic steering, and it don't have old school the pump under the hood, and it's all electronic, and it's integrated right into the steering column. Well, each me I open it up steering column, and I said, well, let me find out what's going on, see if I can find what's going on with it. So each time I open it up and looked in it, the first time I looked around, I found, and I'm going to show you, there is a power steering control module that's right next to the column that has three wires. They're very thin wires that runs over to the actual power steering mechanism, which the electric pump is integrated into the steering column. Okay, so when I initially looked in at the very first time, and I'll see if I can get you a view of that very quickly. Well, let me plug it back in where y'all see where it's how it looks when it's plugged in. Give me a second here. Okay, here we go. Okay, so what I saw was this when I looked up underneath the hood, and I'll show you just now. Okay, so now when I looked up at it closer, I looked at these three wires that are running to this top plug-in, the white one, which is this one. The initial time I looked at it, this wire right here, they're all purplish. Well, there's one brown one. Okay, yeah, there's a yellow one, yellow purple one, and there's a brown one, and there's a purple one. Well, the purple one, it had burned out just above the plug-in, which I'll show you right here. It had just above the plug-in right there. So I fixed it, and then each time I will get my oil change, and they pull the steering column back down, it would stop working again by the time I get home. And so I fixed it in this top area. It was just above the plug-in where it actually got hot, and it just, I don't know if you want to call it shorted or burned off right there. So I fixed it, and I'd done that over and over again about 3 times, and I finally ended up having to go inside there and break this open because it got so bad, and solder a wire inside of this thing, an extension you want to call it, and the connections on these other ones, just because I took it off and carried it inside the house and worked at the table. That's how come these two are soldered. But yeah. So anyway, it got to the point where it broke again because what's happening is this whole harness. Let me show you. This whole, you can see my wires now, but it's wrapped up in this tape that's is real tight, and everything's solid and tight and stiff, and each time that column would move, let me show you here. Yeah, so each time that column would move, and that harness being all all the wires are real tight, and they're very compacted, real tight. And what it is, that wire is getting warm, is what I believe, because they were all twisted together in like a little twisty looking pattern, super tight, and it was getting warm, and that wire would melt, and eventually it would just burn off. So basically, so I put that extension piece in that I showed you, which is this piece. Right here. So yeah, so I put that inside of it, and it worked for a long time. I hadn't had any problem with it now for, it's been close to a year. Well, the other day I woke up and, but what I failed to do each time that I went in and messed with it, I never unwrapped those wires. Well, so this time I'm going to unwrap the wires on it, and that way it can breathe, and everything's not as tight as it was before, and all that heat going on, because those little wires, that's a lot of, I don't know exactly what voltages are going through those wires, or whatever, how much resistance or whatever, but they're so tiny, those little micro wires, and it was a flaw when they built the vehicle, and that's something they had to recall. What they told the public was that there was a corrosion issue with the wiring, and they were going in and replacing the wiring because of corrosion. Now, that's what I saw inside the recall, a wire corrosion problem. Well, it's not a corrosion problem. It's a defect, factory defect. And so this time I'm gonna, since I've got everything unwrapped at this point, I'm gonna butt connect this wire again one more time, and I'll show you what it looks like when I get it butt connected and what's going on. And each time I fix it, now it starts back working perfect, and I have no more problem with it. Well, this time, hopefully, since I took the stiffness out of the wires and I took them loose, and I'm allowing them to breathe, and all that heat and everything, it'll be able to dissipate better, because it was wrapped up super tight in this big thick harness, and that little tiny, what I call pigtail extension that ran over to the power steering module. It was also wrapped up in its own individual wire, and those little wires were, and it was so stiff and tight, each time that column would go up and down, like I just showed you that motion, it was tugging on those wires, tugging. So the tugging action actually would make it, I guess, I don't know, pull on, stretch on it, but it would break. So the first initial time it did it, it broke. It wasn't shorted or nothing, it just broke. So then, but each time I failed, like I said, to unwrap it. But this time I unwrapped it. So now that I have it unwrapped, get the phone turned right position. Now that I got everything unwrapped, now I'm gonna hook it up again, and I'm gonna show you what happens when you hook this one wire back up. Now, to buy that whole, that's to complete the electrical harness for the steering column. Now, it depends on which part of it that you buy. I've seen prices that range from $130 when I looked on the original OEM price range up to $500+ It depends on which portion of that harness, because it's not one piece, and it's that one piece that I'm showing you or whatever. It's like I say, it's all integrated in. You'd have to unwrap it and then trace it down and follow where it's plugged in, and replace that piece, which when you don't have the money, you go the poor man route to get it going. But anyway, if you can afford to replace that part of the harness, and it's hard to find on the site, and you go to the dealership, and they'll, by the time they get done, we can't find that part, then they'll try to sell you one whole section of another harness that ain't even got nothing to do with this thing here, and it's all like $600. So anyway, in the meantime, I'm fixing it until I can find one of these vehicles at the junkyard, because it's a very good car and it's hard to find one at the junkyard, trust me. If I can find one at the junkyard, I will get that part off another vehicle and put it on this vehicle, as opposed to paying $600 to try to buy the part that they were trying to get me to buy, which didn't include this particular portion of the harness that you really need to fix the problem. Now, it's not going to fix it, but when I'll show you, I'm gonna get back with you in a little bit. So let me get that wire fixed, and then I'll get back with you, and I'll show you what happens when you fix that one wire. Okay, for the purpose of the video, what I'm going to do right now is I just twisted those two wires together just to show you what happened. But I am going to solder them and shrink wrap them. I just hadn't to show in the video. I'm going to show you. I twisted them together like this. Now I'm going to plug that wire in back over here inside of the module, the steering control module. Okay, got it snapped into place. Now I'm going to stick the key in and start the vehicle up. And let's see if those lights go out. Yeah, power steering is working again. Look at that. It's working perfect. Look at that. Working perfect. Just that one little bit of wire, it controls when that thing breaks, or when it breaks from being tugged on. That's now the power steering is working again. Lights gone, and it'll work from now on, and now until I actually find, and I gotta find, and I will. And it's not that I'm cheap. I'm one of them kind of guys. If I can fix something, I fix it. I mean, I can afford to buy the part. Honestly, right now I can, and I can go down and spend $300, $400, $500 and buy that part. But if I can fix it, and it takes me all of 10 minutes to fix it, well, maybe 20 if you can include taking it apart to get to it. If I can do it that way until I actually find me one from the junkyard, because I'm old school. See, back in the day, we went to the junkyard and found a part, we fixed our vehicle, and not just because we didn't believe in wasting money if we didn't have to. Yes, it's taking me a little bit of time. If you want to count maybe an hour each time total that I've worked on it, time is money, I know, but an hour, come on now. But anyway, so in the dash is very easy to take apart to get to it. The only thing you got to take apart is just this side panel right here on the side of your door. You take that loose. Once you take that loose, you have one screw underneath the bottom of this part, which is in this hole right here. That's up underneath the steering wheel. And then once you turn the steering wheel from side to side, you got a section right here on each side of the steering. You got a screw on one side and screw on the other side. You take those two screws out, take the bottom screw out. You can pop that top panel up, push it up in like this. It'll go right up in there like that. Pop that top panel up. And the bottom, you just take your hands and work, pull the steering wheel adjuster down and pop that thing, and it pops right out of there. Now, there is a plug-in that you'll run into this right here on this panel for your that pops your trunk open, and it's got your fuel indicator and all that stuff on when you get ready to pop your fuel door open. This panel right here. And that covers the fuel box. Now there's a plug-in, which is this one. Make sure that you unplug that plug-in first, and then you can kind of just swing your panel down out of your way, and so. And you got plenty of room to get. I mean, it's easy to get to. It's very easy to get to. And you just squeeze the little plug-ins, pop them out, fix your wire, and you got steering again. And like I say, when I find that part, and I'll make another video when I find me a part from the junkyard, because if I could create one, I would do it. But when I actually find that plug-in, I'm going to shoot out there another video and let y'all see how simple it is. But as opposed to me taking an hour, even though I've had to take it apart, like I said, 4 times now, and fix that single wire each time. I mean, as opposed to spending anywhere from $500 to $1,900 for a whole steering column, like they'll tell me because the motor's bad, you do the math. God bless you. Have a wonderful day. But that's the, let's call that the poor man's fix of a 2015 Hyundai Sonata. And it's sad because up to like 2 months before my car, same manufacturer year, but up to 2 months, they went back and replaced that harness in people's car and was telling them that it was because of corrosion. It was never because of corrosion. It was because it was stiff in that wire, and they didn't leave enough wire hanging out. When that thing adjusts, it pulls tight on that wire, and it just snapped. It kept snapping it off. And of course, once it starts snapping off, it'll burn a little bit on the end. But initially, when it snapped off, there was no burn. It just snapped off. And it's a flaw. It's a design flaw, and it's sad because they won't go back and they won't fix it. And they say, oh well, you just barely missed it. Okay, fine. Well, I'll do it the poor man fix. God bless you. Have a wonderful day. Love you. Bye bye.